Today, on the bottom of Daf Chav Ches Samud Beis, the last line. We read already this line over here, but we'll again see the question of the Gemara, and so we can see the answer. The Gemara is discussing the Mishnah on Daf Chav Ches Samud Aleph. In the Mishnah it says, Chametz of a guy that passed through Pesach is mutter b'hana. Of a yid, it's asa b'hana, because it says in the pasuk Lo yira lecha sa'ir. So the Gemara brought a few different opinions. And the question of the Gemara over here is, whose opinion is our Mishnah going according to? The Gemara brought a long braisa with three opinions, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yossi Aglili. So the Gemara now says, Mani masnisen. This Mishnah, who does it follow? Rabbi Yehuda, if it would follow Rabbi Yehuda, chametz stomach ka'omar. Rabbi Yehuda holds that any chametz, whether chametz of a yid, chametz of a guy, after Pesach, it's asa b'hana. Afila the nachri, including the chametz of a guy. In our Mishnah, we make a distinction between the chametz of a yid and the guy. Rab Shimon, if we're following Rab Shimon, the Yisrael nami mishra kashari. Rab Shimon holds that the chametz of a yid is also muta after Pesach. Rab Shimon holds the lav of not eating chametz or not having a no chametz is only on Pesach, not what's left over after Pesach. Rab Yossi Aglili, it's certainly not Rab Yossi Aglili, afila toich zmane nami mishra kashari. Rabbi Yossi Aglili holds that even on Pesach itself, the chametz is only asa ba'achila. There's no isra no even on Pesach itself. So who's our Mishnah? So the Gemara is going to give two answers. Amar Ravacha bar Yaakov la'olam Rabbi Yehudihi. Really, our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that holds that chametz is asa from chatzos erev Pesach, asa on Pesach, and asa ba'hana after Pesach as well. So what's the pshat in our Mishnah? The Yalef sa'ir da'achile misa'ir de're'iyah. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we compare the word sa'ir that it says regarding the isser of eating chametz, and the isser of and the word sa'ir that it says by re'iyah, by the isser of bal yirah, that you shouldn't see chametz in your house. Masar de're'iyah, just like when it comes to this of bal yirah, shalchoy ataraya, aval ataraya shalacherim shal gavoya. As we've learned many times before, the Torah writes lo yirah l'cha sa'ir, that only chametz that you own is also with bal yirah, but if it's not yours, you're allowed to have it in your house. So the same thing also, shalchayat oichel, you're not allowed to eat chametz that belongs to you, avalat oichel shel acherim v'shel gavoya. But you're allowed to eat chametz that belongs to someone else, or chametz that belongs to hektish. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the isser of eating chametz is only if it's your own. According to Rashi, this means kepshutai, that according to Rabbi Yehuda, Minat Torah, even on Pesach itself, you're allowed to eat chametz as long as it's not yours. And it only isser to eat chametz, which is not yours, on Pesach is an isser midrabanan. It's not an isser minat Torah. That's Rashi's opinion. Tosfos disagrees. Tosfos says that when it says here in the Gemara that after oichel, that you're allowed to eat it if it's not yours, it doesn't mean achila. Achila wouldn't be allowed, and the reason is the moment you eat it, you're kain it. It becomes yours. It goes into your mouth. It becomes yours. So how could you eat it? So therefore, Tosfos says the Gemara really means hana. That you're not allowed to have hana from chametz that's yours, but if it's not yours, you're allowed to have hana. But that's what the Gemara means to say over here. Not b'negei ta'achila though. But l'kula alma, it's definitely going to be aser midrabanan even if it's not yours. So this is one answer here to explain the pshat in our Mishnah. When the Mishnah said that chametz had passed through Pesach, only if it's the chametz of a yid is it aser, but the chametz of a guy is mutter. Even though Rabbi Yehuda and the Braisi before didn't make this distinction, but here now the Gemara is saying that there is a pasuk that Rabbi Yehuda darshaned that says that it's also only if it's yours, not if it's not yours. So we make this distinction, even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Ubedino, and if so, really, it should have been said in the Mishnah, the Mishnah should have said, that chametz that's from a guy, you're allowed to eat as well. So why does in the Mishnah, why does it speak about hana? Va'aidi the tani the Yisrael asa b'hana, tani nami the nachri muta b'hana. But because the Mishnah spoke about the chametz of a yid, which is asa b'hana, so it uses the lashon of hana regarding a guy that you're allowed to have hana.
Not only is a guy muta, shalacherim is also muta.
Yeah, shalacherim means a guy. Shalacherim
means a guy.
Yeah, shalacherim means a guy. No. Shalacherim means a guy, and shalgavaya means hektish. Ubedino di bayalele misne da filibetoich zmane motebano. And really, the Mishnah should have been discussing b'negei to not only chametz after Pesach, but b'negei to chametz on Pesach itself. The distinction the Mishnah makes between chametz that belongs to a yid and chametz that belongs to a guy That's a distinction in Pesach itself because of the drasha we just said. But va'aidi, the Tana, the Yisrael, la'achaz manoi, because when he speaks about the Yisrael, he's saying the halacha of la'achaz manoi. He's telling you the chiddush that even achaz manoi, it would be aser, so Tani nami de nochri la'achaz manoi. So he says also the halacha regarding a guy la'achaz manoi. But really, when you get to the chametz of a guy, even within Pesach itself, it would also be mutter, min ha'Torah. This is Rav Acha bar Yaakov's pshat. The Gemara is later going to say that Rav Acha bar Yaakov had charata from this pshat. Rava says, La'olam Rab Shimon. Really, our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rab Shimon. What was our question? Rab Shimon held that only in Pesach itself is the chametz aser b'hana. After Pesach, there's no pasuk to say that the chametz that passes through Pesach is aser. So how could Rab Shimon be our Mishnah if in our Mishnah it says that the chametz of Yid after Pesach is aser? Rab Shimon, according to Rab Shimon, knase konis. True min ha'Torah, it's mutter, but it's a knas. There's a penalty that Chachamim made. Because he kept the chametz in his house, and he was over on Bal Yirah by Yematzah, so therefore...
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
So because he was over by Yirah by Yematzah, Chachamim were geyser that it should be aser after Pesach. That's what our Mishnah meant to say. Says the Gemara, let's see what it says in our Mishnah. According to Rava's Pshat, the Mishnah is understood. Hainu diktani. This is what the Mishnah means when it says, Shall Yisrael aser, that the chametz of a Yid that passed through Pesach is aser, mishum shenema lo yirah, because it says in the Torah lo yirah. Why is the Gemara why is the Mishnah that is bringing this pasuk? Because he was over on Bal Yirah, so that's why they made a knas that he's not allowed to use that chametz. But according to Rav Acha bar Yaakov, it says that the chametz of a Yid that passes after Pesach. Why is it aser? Not because of Bal Yirah, nothing to do with Bal Yirah. El Rav Acha bar Yaakov mishum lo yeyachol chametz mi bayalei. If the Mishnah is following the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda holds that even after Pesach there's an Isser Hana that you learn out from lo yeyachol chametz. Just like there's an Issa of having enough from the chametz on Pesach, there's an Issa after Pesach as well, that you learn out from lo ya'achal chametz. That's what the Mishnah should have said. Why is the Mishnah saying lo yirah? And it says the Gemara, this is how you have to read the Mishnah according to Rav Acha bar Yaakov's pshat. Mi savres, do you think, as seifekoi, when the Mishnah brings the pasuk lo yirah, it's going on the last point that it said in the Mishnah, why the chametz of Yisrael would be aser? Areishekoi. It's going on the first part of the Mishnah. What does it say in the first part of the Mishnah? That the chametz of a guy that passed through Pesach will be mutter. And this is what the Mishnah is saying. V'hachi ka'ama. Chametz shal nachrishav alav Pesach mutter. The chametz of a guy that passed through Pesach is going to be mutter b'hana. Mishum shenema lo yirah el locha. Just like we say regarding the Issa of Bal Yirah, that the Issa of Bal Yirah is only on the chametz that's owned by you and not by the chametz of a guy. Same thing also, v'yalef sa'ar da'achila misa'ar diriyah, and we learn out the chametz that it says by the Isser of Bal Yirah to the chametz that it says by the Isser of Achila, that Isser is limited only by the chametz that belongs to a Yid, and not to the chametz to a guy. So when the Mishnah brings the pasuk of lo yirah l'cha sa'ar, that's not the source for the Isser of having enough from the chametz of a Yid that passed through Pesach. That you learn out from lo ya'achol chametz. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there are 3 psukim. We learned in the previous daf, there are 3 psukim, one for lifnei zmanei, one for toich zmanei, one for lachas zmanei. Pasuk the Mishnah brings lo yirah l'cha sa'ar is the source that we compare to learn out that the chametz of a guy would be mutter because it's not l'cha, it's not yours. These 2 pshatim here in the Mishnah, Rava and Rav Acha bar Yaakov, they follow their opinion elsewhere. The Itmer, we learned the following machlokes: ha'oichel sa'ar shel nachrishav alav Pesach. A person ate chametz of a guy that passed through Pesach. The divrei Rabbi Yehuda. What would be Rabbi Yehuda's opinion in this case? Rava says like Rava says according to Rabbi Yehuda, any chametz, including the chametz of a guy that was passed over Pesach, you're not allowed to eat it, you get malchus. But Rav Acha bar Yaakov says, Eina loike. No, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's only the chametz of a Yid, not the chametz of a guy, there's no malchus. And like we explained before, Rava that says you do get malchus, lo yalef, Rabbi Yehuda, sa'ar da'achile, misa'ar diriyah. We don't compare the Isser of chametz to the Isser of eating chametz, that is, to the Isser of Bal Yirah. By Bal Yirah, the Torah says it's only if it's yours, not by the Isser of achila. But Rav Acha bar Yaakov says, Ein Eloike, the chametz of a guy that passed through Pesach, you don't get malchus. Why? Yalif sa'ar da achila misa'ar diriyah. We do learn out the isra of achila from what it says Bal Yirah. Just like Bal Yirah is only if it's yours, so too the chametz of a guy, you're not going to be over. We do compare exactly like the Gemara said before. Now the Gemara brings, like I mentioned, Rav Acha bar Yaakov had charata from his opinion. But the Gemara is going to come back to show how Rav Acha bar Yaakov, how we see that Rav Acha bar Yaakov had charata from his opinion on the next Amud. The Gemara here brings a braisa with a few pshatim in this braisa, and towards the end it brings a pshat from Rav Acha bar Yaakov, and we'll see that he had charata from his opinion. What's the braisa that it brings this for this? Rav Acha bar Yaakov mahahi. Rav Acha bar Yaakov had charata. The Tanya, we learned the following braisa. Ha'oichel chametz shel hektish b'mayit. A person that ate chametz that belongs to hektish on Pesach. Moal. So the first opinion in the braisa is you misuse the hektish, and the isser of meila applies. Everything, the carbon and the chaimish, whatever you obligated applies. The second opinion is loy mo'al. There's no meila in such a case because it's Pesach, so there's no meila. So the Gemara here is going to explain in a few different ways what's the basis of this machlokes, whether there's meila on chametz of hektish on Pesach. So the first pshat the Gemara says is as follows: Man yeshayimrim. Who's the second opinion that says that if you ate the chametz of hektish on Pesach, you're not going to be moil? Amar Rab Yechanan, Rab Nechunye ben Akana. This is the opinion of Rab Nechunye ben Akana. What did Rab Nechunye ben Akana say? The Tanya Rab Nechunye ben Akana haya oise es Yom Kippurim kishabes. Rab Nechunye ben Akana would compare Yom Kippur to Shabbos litashlumin. When it comes to payment, what kind of payment are we talking about? So Rashi here says, the Gemara discusses this in Ksubis and in other places, b'negeya to a person that damaged his friend's property. The example the Gemara there uses is, like Rashi here brings, hamadlik godish b'yom kippurim. You went and you lit someone else's pile of food and you damaged it. You ruined someone else's possessions. So now, when you lit that fire, you were also mechalal yom kippurim. If someone did this on Shabbos, if you went and damaged someone else's property on Shabbos, are you chayiv to pay him? The answer is no. There's a rule, kom lei b'derabim. Since you chayiv misa for what you did, it's a chayiv of skila, so you're not chayiv for the tashlum, for the payment. The question now is, does the same apply on Yom Kippur as well? Yom Kippur, there's no chayiv misa, there's no skila. There is a chayiv kodesh though, which is a misa b'dei shemayim basically. So do I say that because you chayiv kodesh, which is misa b'dei shemayim, kom lei b'derabim minei, and you potter from the tashlumin? So Rab Nechunye ben Akana said, yes, Yom Kippur is compared to Shabbos, just like on Shabbos. Ma Shabbos, mischayev ben nafsho, you potter min tashlumin, you damage someone's property, and you did it by lighting a fire, so you were machal Shabbos, and you chayev misa, so therefore you potter to pay. Af Yom Kippurim, mischayev ben nafsho, you potter min tashlumin. On Yom Kippur as well, Yechayev Kodesh, it's only Misa B'dei Shemayim. But he holds that even for Misa B'dei Shemayim, the rule of Kam Le B'dei Rabbi Minei applies. So over here, the same thing we say, B'negeya to Me'ila, when a person eats the chametz on Pesach, the issa of eating chametz on Pesach is issa Kodesh. So when he ate this chametz on Pesach, because he's chayiv kodesh, so the issa of meila does not apply. So he doesn't have to pay back. He doesn't have to pay the chaimish and the carbon. The whole issa of meila doesn't apply because of kam lei b'derab minei. That was the yesh oimrim. Whereas the first opinion the Braisa holds, kam lei b'derab minei does not apply to chametz because there's no issa b'dei adam. There's no misa b'dei adam. That is, there's no. It's not like Shabbos. Okay, that's one pshat in this Braisa. The Gemara brings a second pshat. Rav Yosef Amar. Rav Yosef says they have a completely different argument here. And Rashi here brings the source before we see in the Gemara inside. So Rashi explains, when it comes to any kachim that you are makdish, you have an option to redeem it. But even after you redeem it, you can't fully use what you just redeemed, the animal you redeemed, for anything you want. Rashi brings in the last Rashi on the Amid here, it says in the pasuk Tizbach, V'loi gize, basar v'loi chelev, v'achalta v'loi leklovim. The full pasuk that Rashi is quoting here says that Tizbach v'achalta basar. After you redeem kachim, you can shecht it, you can eat it, and what could you eat? The basar. So from this pasuk you learn out that Tizbach tells you can't shear the wolf and use it for yourself. When you redeem it from hektish, you still can't use the wolf for yourself. V'achalta, we learn out that you can eat from it, but you can't feed it to your dogs, only for yourself to eat. And from Basa you learn out that only the meat is permitted to eat, but any of the fats of the animal is not permitted to eat. That's the limitation that there is even after you redeem kachim. Depends which chaylev. We're talking even the chaylev, even shuman, whatever, any chaylev that would have been mutter otherwise. Over here you could only eat the meat and nothing else. Okay, but now there's a machlokes here. This drasha that Rashi says that you can't feed anything of hektish that you redeem to dogs, to a pet you have, that's a machlokes. One opinion says that once you redeem it from hektish you're allowed to. The other opinion says you're not allowed to. So what's the relevance over here benegeh to our case? So Rashi explains this chametz that belongs to hektish right now on Pesach itself. What value does this chametz have? Today l'chayre has zero value. It's Pesach, it's Asa B'Achila, it's Asa B'Hana. If you went and used it, if you ate it, you misused something from hektish that has no value presently. So therefore you're not moyel. Right now it has no value. When Pesach is going to be over, so then it could be used. But now, according to this answer that Rav Yosef is saying now, you have to look at the present. B'shas, the person ate it. Right now it has absolutely no value whatsoever. What would be the value that it has presently? If today you have an option of redeeming it and then feeding it to a dog, so then, it has a value. I can take it and feed it to a dog. But if today when I redeem it, I can't eat it myself and I can't feed it to a dog either, so when I misuse this food of hektish, it has absolutely no value whatsoever. So let's see the Lashon of the Gemara inside. Rav Yosef says, when a person redeems an animal from hektish, lahachilon leklavim, is he allowed to give that food, that animal, to eat to a dog? Kamiflagi, that's what the argument is about. Mandam moal, the one that says that when you misused chametz on Yontif, on Pesach, you are moyel, because it has value. Kasava paidin es hakachim lahachilon leklavim. Today it has value. I can be paid it and give it to a dog. The one that says that it has no mi'ilah whatsoever, kasavar ein paidin. He holds that you can't be paid to feed it to a dog, so therefore you use something from hektish that has no value whatsoever. That's the second pshat. A third pshat, Rav Acha bar Rava Tana Lo. Rav Acha bar Rava says another pshat, and he actually said it also in the name of Rav Yosef. Tana Lo lahosh maitem mishmei Rav Yosef b'hol lishna, and he explained it as follows. The kula alma, everybody agrees, ein paidin es hakotshim lachilon leklavim. You cannot redeem hektish and then feed it to a dog. Everybody agrees to that drasha, that even after you redeem it, you have to eat it yourself and not feed it to your pet. The argument over here is as follows. The question is, when you have something that has no value of money today, but it's something that will bring you value of money if you hold on to it. Over here, this chametz today has no value. The question is, though, if Bezdin, or if hektish, that is, will continue holding on to it, after Pesach, it'll have value. So even though today it doesn't, but you will you use something from hektish that will have value. Does the fact that it will have value later, considered to be mumming or not? So therefore, that's the machlokes here. Mandamar that says ma'al kasava dava geirim lemam and kamamindami. The one that says that you were ma'il is because even though today it has no value, but after Pesach it will have value. So therefore, that's you misuse something that has value to hektish. Mandamar loy ma'al, the one that says that you were not ma'il kasava dava geirim lemam and lav kamamindami. Even though it's going to come and be worth money later, but now it's not worth money. So therefore, you were not ma'il. Fourth pshat, Rav Acha bar Yaakov Oma. Here we come to Rav Acha bar Yaakov's pshat, and he says the kula alma. Everybody would agree davar agoyrim lemamoin kim mamin dami, that the value of it that it's going to have later is worth something. And v'hacha, but over here, what's the argument? Will it have value after Pesach? Will it become mutter after Pesach? V'hacha beplukte the Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon kamiflagi, and they're arguing in the machlokes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. The one that says that you're not moil, Rabbi Yehuda. He's following the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yehuda hold? Even after Pesach, the Issa stays. The Issa of eating or having a nor from the chametz continues on the chametz of all of a Pesach. It doesn't change. So it's never going to have any value. So you weren't moil. Mandama mal, the one that says that you were moil, Rab Shimon. He follows the opinion of Rab Shimon that only in Pesach it's asa ba'no, but after Pesach it's not asa ba'no. So then it will have value. So therefore you were moil. So now the Gemara says, in this answer of Rav Acha bar Yaakov, I see that he has charata from the distinction that he made before. What is he saying over here? You have chametz that belongs to hektish, and he's saying that it's aser now, it's aser after Pesach. But wait a minute, didn't we say before, Rav Acha bar Yaakov said that the whole iser is only sholcha? that he compared the Issa of Bal Yirah to the Issa of Hana and Achila, that it's only if it's yours. Over here we're talking about chametz that belongs to Hektish, so there's no Issa at all. Says the Gemara, V'haravacha b'Yaakov hu da'amad Rav Yudah Yalev Se'ar da'achila Misar deriyah. Didn't he say we compare the Se'ar, the Issa of eating and having a na of the chametz, from the Issa of Bal Yirah? So how is he saying that this chametz has no value, and therefore you're not moil, not on Pesach, not after Pesach, has no value whatsoever anymore? Elo hodebe Rav Achi bar Yaakov mahi. So here we see that Rav Achi bar Yaakov had charata from what he said before. One final pshat the Gemara brings in this brayse. Rav Ashi Omar, Rav Ashi says, the kula alme, everybody agrees, ein paidin. When you redeem hektish, you don't feed it to a dog. And also, v'dava goyrim l'mamen, lav k'mamen dami. Everybody also agrees that the fact that it will have value after Pesach, that's not good enough if it doesn't have value today. What's the argument here? The argument is the argument of Rabbi Yossi Glili and the Rabbanon regarding chametz b'chlal. The one that says that if you eat the chametz of hektish you will moil, Rabbi Yossi, he follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. What's Rabbi Yossi's opinion? There's no iser hana of chametz. So even on Pesach itself, the chametz is also ba'achila, but you can't say it has no value to hektish. The chametz could be used for fuel, for other things, to heat up your oven. So the chametz is still a valuable thing that you took away from the hektish. The one that says loy mal k'Rabbanan, he holds like Rabbanan's opinion that it has no value because chametz is also ba'achila and also b'hana. So you took something from hektish that has no value whatsoever. Okay, that's the end of this inyan. Now the Gemara starts a new inyan here. And the Gemara is going to talk about a mixture of chametz. What happens if chametz got mixed into other ingredients? Does it become bottled? Does it not become bottled? This is a huge sugya, really, in Chulin, where it discusses this much more extensively, and in Avodah Zarah and a few different places. Here the Gemara discusses this in Bekitzer regarding chametz. What happens when chametz gets mixed into other things? Amarav chametz bizmanai. So when it comes to chametz in the time of the Isser, there's actually machlokes Rishonim what bizmana here means. Some Rishonim say it only means the 7 days of Pesach, not including the 6 hours before Pesach, and others say that it does include even the 6 hours before Pesach. I believe we follow la halacha, the opinion that bizmana means only the 7 days of Pesach. So bizmana, in the time of the Isser, on Yontif, through the 7 days of Pesach, bein biminoi, whether the chametz got mixed into something else which is the same min, bein shaloi b'minai, or it got mixed into something else which is a different min, aser. It's going to be aser. Doesn't make a difference if it's b'minai, shaloi b'minai. Now, the Rishonim here say that what we're talking about over here is lach belach. You're talking about liquid that got mixed with each other. When it comes to yavish b'yavish, when it's things that are dry substance of foods, that's a different thing. Talking about it got mixed, like liquids that get mixed, it becomes one entity. So if it's...
Minai would be and flour.
Okay, so maybe flour. I'm saying it. The Rishonim say it's talking about lach. So you have a drink, a liquid that's a chametz liquid that gets mixed with it, the same min that's made out of the same, but that's pesach dik. So then it's going to be aser, whether it's biminoi, whether it's shaloi biminoi. Shaloi bizmanoi. If the chametz got mixed in shaloi bizmanoi, in other words, the chametz that passed through Pesach and now it's after Pesach and it got mixed in biminoi. If it is the same min, aser, then it is going to be aser. Shaloi b'minoi, if it got mixed with something that's not its min, then mutter, then it will be mutter. So the Gemara now is going to explain exactly what Rav was saying here. Says the Gemara, b'may askina. What are we talking about? How much chametz got mixed in? Was it bottle? Was it what exactly happened? If you're going to say what happened over here is the chametz that got mixed with something that's pesachdik, but it got mixed in enough that you still taste the taste of the chametz. Meaning, in the case where it got mixed shaloi b'minoi, if it got mixed b'minoi, you're not going to taste it. But if it got mixed shaloi b'minoi, enough of the chametz got mixed that it's b'nois in time. You can taste the chametz there. So then, how could you say shaloi b'zmanoi that after Pesach shaloi b'minoi mutter? That if it got mixed not with its min, that it's going to be mutter. Why is it going to be mutter? Hayav taima. You taste the chametz, and if you taste the chametz, it should be aser. Rashi explains, Rav obviously holds that the Isser even applies after Pesach. Because Rav said, B'minoi, even after Pesach, it's Aser. So Rav is following the opinion we had before in the Gemara, which is Rabbi Yehuda, that even after Pesach, the Isser applies. So then, if it got mixed shaloi b'mina and it's giving a taste of chametz, why would it be mutter? So the Gemara says no. So this whole statement here of Rav is talking about a different scenario. Ela b'mashu chametz. What happened over here is a tiny drop, whatever it is, whatever amount of chametz got mixed in, and that's what we're talking about. So you're not tasting the chametz at all. There's mamish a mashu that got mixed in, and it's totally bottled. So now, what's the halacha that Rav was saying here? Biz manoi, if it was on Pesach itself, bein b'minoi, bein shaloi b'minoi aser, whether it got mixed in with the same min or with another min, either way it's going to be aser. What's the reason? Rav l'taimei. Rav follows his opinion, and this is not only b'negei to chametz, this is true b'negei to all other isurim. The Rav and Shmuel damri tarvayu. Rav and Shmuel both hold regarding all isurim that call isurim shebetayra by all other isurim in the Torah as well. B'minai, if an isur falls into something else which is the same min, b'mashahu, it asers it even with a mashahu. Shaloi b'minai, only when something which is also falls into something else, it gets mixed with something else that's not its min, then b'noisen tam. Then you have to see if there's a taste there or not, which generally speaking is if there's 60 times, if it's bottled b'shishim, if there's 60 times against it, so then it doesn't give a taste. But this is a chumrah that Rav and Shmuel hold b'negeya to all Yisurim in the Torah, not only b'negeya to chametz. And this is based actually on an opinion of Rabbi Yehuda in Masechta Avodah Zarah that says this b'negeya to all Yisurim. This is how Rav and Shmuel interpret Rabbi Yehuda's opinion in Masechta Avodah Zarah. So we understand why when the chametz falls into shaloi b'minai, again, why when the chametz falls into b'minai, it's going to be asa even with a mashu. Because that we say about all Yisurim in the Torah. Even with a mashu, it's going to be asa. Now, why is Rav saying that even if it fell into something shaloi b'minai, that it's also going to be asa? In Kol HaTorah Kula, we don't say that. So the Gemara continues, Rav gozar chametz bizmanai shaloi b'minai otu minai. Now, Rav made a gzeira. Just like chametz in the time of the Isser, where it's going to be aser if it falls into its min, then it's going to be aser b'mashu just like every Isser. Rav made a gzeira and said that the same should apply also if it falls not into its min, even though by other Isurim we don't make such a gzeira, but by chametz we do. So Rashi explains why. Why are we more stringent with chametz? Because chametz has an isakaris. By other Yisurim, there's no isakaris. So here, chametz is more chamer, so Rav was geyser. Chametz, even a mashu, this is the source of this concept. Even a mashu of chametz that is an ingredient that falls into something that's cooked or baked on Pesach, it's aser. Totally aser. If it's...
all the other Yisrael Achilas and now Yisakaris, Chelev...
No. Not, maybe Chelev, you just mentioned Chelev, maybe Chelev there is a Isakaris, but all the other Yisurim, Trefis, Nevelis, and all these things, no, it's not an Isakaris. Okay, so this is the B'negeya to in the Zmane Isser. Now, how about, so the Gemara says over here, Rav goes a chametz b'zmanoi, shaloi b'minoi, otu minoi. Okay, now shaloi b'zmanoi. What did Rav say about the chametz after Pesach? Shaloi b'zmanoi, the chametz that got mixed into something that's Pesach dik, and it's after the time, after Pesach. B'minoi aser, if it got mixed with the min of the same min as the chametz itself, then it's going to be aser. Rabbi Yehuda, because he's following Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that says that the isser of not eating or having enough from chametz applies even after the time. The shaloi b'minoi mutter. The reason why shaloi b'minoi it's going to be mutter is the shaloi b'zmanoi, the shaloi b'minoi otu minoi kula hayloi gezrinon. He didn't make the gzeira so far that even shaloi b'zmanoi, that even for the chametz after Pesach, and it's shaloi b'minoi, which usually by other yisurim, not unless you feel a taste of the isser, is it aser. So over here in this case, he didn't make a gzeira. Rashi explains why not, because even according to Rabbi Yehuda, the isser kares is only for the chametz on Pesach itself. After Pesach, there's no Issachar. So the only reason why he made an extra gzeira is because of Kares. After Pesach, there's no Kares. This is Rav's opinion. The Gemara is going to bring Shmuel and Rabbi Yechanan. There's three opinions about this. Shmuel went through all the scenarios that Rav spoke about, and he said as follows. Chametz bizmanoi, in the time of Pesach itself, b'minei aser, shaloi b'minei mutter. If it fell into the same min, it's aser, and if it's not its min, it's going to be mutter. Shaloi bizmanoi, if it's not in the time of this, after Pesach, ben b'minoi, ben shaloi b'minoi, mutter. Chametz got mixed with something else, either way it's going to be mutter. So the Gemara explains, Chametz bizmanoi b'minoi aser, Chametz, and we're talking about even a mashu, tiny drop of Chametz that fell into something else that it is the same min, In the time of Pesach itself, it's going to be Aser. The same explanation we said before. Shmuel Taimei. Shmuel follows his opinion. The Rav Shmuel Damri Tarvayu. They both said not only regarding chametz, but kol isurin shebeteira b'minoi asurim b'mashahu. If there's a mixture in the same min, it becomes Aser with mashahu. Shaloi b'minoi. But if the chametz get mixed with something which is not its min, and it's only a mashahu, and you don't feel the taste, so b'noisen tam, shaloi b'minon, atuminon loy gazar. He didn't make the gzeira that Rav made. Rav made a gzeira that in the time of the Issa, because it's kares, so we're geyser b'minoi and shaloi b'minoi because of mina. He did not make this gzeira loy gazar. So therefore, according to him, if it falls in shaloi b'minoi, so it's you don't feel the taste, and it's mutter. Shaloi bizmanoi, then the chametz of shaloi bizmanoi. So Shmuel says any mixture doesn't make a difference. It's always going to be mutter. Bein b'minam, bein shaloi b'minam mutaren. Kirab Shimon. He doesn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda b'chlal. He's following Rabbi Shimon's opinion that says that the whole Isra Hana is only on Pesach itself. After Pesach, there's no Isra Hana. So if it gets mixed in, it's mutter. The Gemara will soon explain if he's following Rabbi Shimon, there shouldn't be any Issa whatsoever. Why only if it gets mixed in? But we already explained before that according to Rabbi Shimon, there is a knas. Even though there's no Isam in Atayr, but there is a knas on Chometz She'ova Olava Pesach in the Rishus of Yid that it's Asam D'Rabbanan. But that's only if the Chometz is by itself. Once it gets mixed into something else, that knas doesn't apply. So therefore, any mixture will be mutter. But Rabbi Yechanan says he's even more lenient. Chometz Bizmanoi, Chometz on Pesach itself, Ben B'minoi, Ben Shaloi B'minoi Aser. Whether it's the min that it fell into or it's not the same min that it fell into, it's going to be aser only b'noisen tam. Only if the mixture that it fell in, you feel the taste of chametz. If you don't feel the taste of chametz, it's not going to be aser. Shaloi bizmanoi, ben b'minon, ben shaloi b'minon, mutter. After Pesach, whether it's the same min, whether it's not the same min, it's always going to be mutter. So the Gemara explains, chametz bizmanoi, ben b'minoi, ben shaloi b'minoi, b'noisen tam. The only time chametz is aser is if it gives a taste. Rabbi Yechanan Taimei. Rabbi Yechanan follows his opinion. Rabbi Yechanan, V'reish Lakish, the Omri Tarvayu, they both hold not only regarding chametz but by all isurin. Kol isurin shebeteira, ben b'minon, ben shaloi b'minon, b'noisen tam. The isser of a mixture is only if what's aser is giving a taste. If it doesn't give a taste, there's no isser. So they didn't hold of this whole concept of a mashahu, that when there's a mashahu and it makes it aser. They didn't hold of that. Okay, so both Rabbi Yechanan and Reish Lakish, so therefore they say the same thing when it comes to chametz on Pesach. It's only if it gives a taste. Shaloi bizmanoi, ben b'minoi, ben shaloi b'minoi mutarin. When it comes to Shaloi Bizmanai, after Pesach, any mixture will be allowed, like we said before, according to Shmuel, that we're following Rab Shimon's opinion. Let's just finish off this Inyan. Gemara here just tells you who the halacha is like. Omar Rave, Hilchase, the way we paskin about this whole subject here is the three opinions we just had it, Rav, Shmuel, and Rav Yechanan. So we paskin as follows. Chametz bizmanoi, if it's chametz that got mixed into other ingredients in Yontif Pesach itself, ben b'minoi, ben shaloi b'minoi aser. We paskin like Rab b'mashu. Even a mashu that got mixed in is going to be aser. This is the way we paskin. That's why anything that's cooked and baked on Pesach itself doesn't get bottled. There's no bittul when it comes. It doesn't get bottled in the ingredients on Pesach itself. This is the reason why there are many people that have a minig to cook everything before Pesach. Because if it's cooked before Pesach, it's shaloi bizmanoi. So whatever, if any chametz fell in, it becomes bottled. But on Pesach itself, because then is the time of the Issa Kodesh, it doesn't get bottled at all. Whether it's b'minoi, whether it's shaloi b'minoi. Kerav, we pass over like Rav. Shaloi bizmanai, regarding not bizmanai, whether before Pesach or whether after Pesach, ben b'minoi, ben shaloi b'minoi, mutter, whatever mixture it's going to be totally mutter, kerab Shimon, because we follow Rab Shimon. And according to Rab Shimon, there's no lav of Isra Hana after Pesach. So the Gemara explains this now. I mentioned it before. Umi Omar Rava Hachi. Could have Rava said that this is the halacha regarding the chametz after Pesach. V'Omar Rava Rab Shimon Knasa Kanis. Hoya v'Ava Ola Bayra Bayamatzah. Doesn't Rab Shimon say that there is a knas for chametz that passed through Pesach that you're not allowed to eat it to have an awe from it? So there is a knas. So how could he say that it's mutter if it got mixed? Says the Gemara, yes, when's that knas? Hanimila be'inei. If the chametz is itself. The chametz itself that came after Pesach is aser. Aval al yedei taruvis loy. But if it got mixed with other ingredients and it's ava oliva Pesach, it passed through Pesach, it's going to be mutter. The knas doesn't apply in that case. Va'az the Rava l'taimei, and Rava follows his opinion where he said something elsewhere. The Omar Rava ki avinan beirav Nachman. when we were by Rav Nachman, ki have nafki shiva yayme de pischa. When Pesach was over, Omar Lon, Rav Nachman told us, Puku uzvinu chamira de b'nei chela. You can go and buy the chametz from the b'nei chela, which were goyim, the people from the army, that even though we know that they were using chametz that passed through Pesach, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that wouldn't be allowed. But we're paskening like Rab Shimon, that the only chametz that's not allowed to be used after Pesach, and this is how we pasken, of course, is the chametz of a yid that passed through Pesach. The chametz of a guy that passed through Pesach would be allowed. So he told them to go buy chametz from the goyim. Just the Mefarshim just clarify, even though it sounds like in the Gemara it's talking about buying bread or whatever it is that they baked, but it doesn't really mean to buy bread that they baked, because then that would be a isser of pasakum. But it means different things of chametz that you could use from them, and there wouldn't be a problem of bishul or pasakum to buy it from them, because we paskin like Rav Shimon.